and welcome to the most magical podcast where we give you tips and advice to visit the Disney parks like a pro, helping you to maximize the magic by mastering the planning. Now, if you're visiting Disney World, oftentimes you are going to want to know how to experience Orlando and all the amazing things on offer. And I have the perfect guest for you today. So please welcome to the podcast, Russ. How are you doing?
I'm really good. Honestly, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to come on another podcast as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited because this is the thing. So I'm gearing up to go back to Disney and Orlando. So I've been obsessively listening to your podcast, and I'm going to put all the links down below so everyone can come and check you out. And I do a thing called a Florida walk. So in advance of my trip,
Okay.
because I work on a computer mostly, sat down a lot of the time. So in preparation for Florida, I start going out for walks more. And your podcast is what I listen to every single time because I'm getting my steps in, but also learning so much about Florida, and it just builds that excitement.
Yeah, love that. Love that. It's brilliant. I know I get a lot of people kind of saying they're either on the drive to work or they're doing their
Yes.
morning steps or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
for that, like whatever it is, half an hour, 45 minutes an hour, a little escape.
Yes.
It's our escape back to Orlando, isn't
Exactly,
it?
that is so true. And this is the thing that I've always found podcasts difficult when I'm like at home or something, because I'm one of these people, if my eyes aren't involved, they start
Yeah.
getting distracted and then I can't listen. So, like you say, when I've started listening to podcasts when I'm walking or driving, and I'm like, oh my God, I've unlocked the way to listen. And it just, the thing that's great, especially with your podcast, because they're like such a great length, I can either go out and do like one episode and I'm like, I've had a nice little walk, but because they're so easy to listen to, I'm like, right, I want to listen to more. So I end up walking more. So you're doing wonders for my fitness.
Literally, you're like, I've got to get the next one in, and the next one it turns out was an hour. So you're
Exactly, it's
I'm staying
perfect.
out.
But it's so great because they are such an easy listen, and I really like that you do the blend of having the guests, but then also your own episodes, and you cover so much. So I'm overjoyed you have joining me today.
Yeah. Honestly, genuinely my pleasure. And like you're smashing it as well. Like honestly, I see your content coming out like left, right, and center, and I'm like, killing it. So honestly, absolutely hands up to you. I think you're
Thanks
you're you're
so
doing
much.
fantastic.
But yeah, it's just so much fun, isn't it? Sharing all of the like love. And I think that's the thing, the community's really nice. Like people that get visiting Orlando, like everyone's so lovely and they just are
Yeah.
so excited to share like their tips and advice and their experiences. And I always say, like, especially when you're at home, listening to other people's trips or like following along on Instagram, I'm obsessed with people's stories. I want someone to be posting, like, you know, where the little dots at the top of the screen. I don't even want to see a dot. I want you to have so many stories up that I feel like I'm with
I,
them.
I just want to basically be in the park. I want to be walking around with you.
Exactly that. So
Yeah.
it's absolutely perfect. So I thought we should start at the very beginning. And when was the first time you visited Orlando?
So my first visit to Orlando was 1999. I
Oh,
was I was 5 years old.
that's
So yeah,
amazing.
it like and genuinely that's like kind of where it started. Obviously, I
Yeah,
was I was young, but I was in terms of kind of memories from early in your life.
yeah,
Those are the ones that kind of have stuck, and I
yes,
genuinely like remember them so clearly from 1999,
yeah,
and that like genuinely, obviously with regards to like Disney characters and stuff, that's where it all started, meeting all the characters. And I remember like I had my little autograph book
yeah,
that you used to have back
yes.
in the day and kind of going around and collecting all of the autographs. I was yeah, I
I
loved
love
it.
that. Yes.
um so that was where it started, and
Yeah.
then we that was obviously with my family, and we didn't go back as a family until 2008. So there was a little gap in between, but obviously I was at an age the next time that I could appreciate it in a different way. And obviously back in kind of 1999, it was more Disney based, but the Universal side of stuff came into it a bit more in
Yes.
2008 as well. So that's kind of where it started, where I was growing up, and
Yeah.
like got the bug, and then obviously the moment I hit being an adult, I'm
Yeah.
like, any opportunity, I'm going back, and I'm going back again
Exactly.
and again and again, and that you know where that ends up.
Yeah, it's so true. Everyone says they're going to do their once in a lifetime trip, and I'm like, it becomes a very expensive hobby.
It
No
really,
one
really
goes
does.
once.
Yeah,
It's so true.
honestly, and I keep saying this, but every trip's different as well. Like
Yes.
I'm sure we've all been countless times, and I genuinely can't think of a time that I've gone, well, that was exactly the same as the last trip, because it
It's what
never
I
is.
always find amazing, like you say, because you kind of do a lot of the similar things, but they are always such different trips. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, exactly that. And like obviously the parks get updates, and
Yeah.
and you're the things that you like might change as well. So you might opt to go and
Yes.
do stuff that maybe you thought you weren't into as much before.
Yep.
But yeah, honestly, it's just it's become like you said, an expensive hobby,
Yeah.
but I love it. Obviously to be able to both of us to have a podcast talking about this one
Yes.
thing that we share a passion for, it's
Exactly that.
fantastic. It
No,
really
it's
is.
so true. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? What's really nice is that when you listen to podcasts and watch vlogs, you are always learning new things as well. Like, oh, I never knew I could go and visit this place. And so then you keep adding on to the list of new things you need to try, and it's never ending.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
But yeah, it's been fantastic. And what I really like is, like you said, when you visit at different ages, you have a completely different experience. And I was similar. So I think I went to Disney World when I was 6. And there's actually a really funny video. My nan had like an old school camera, and I had a VHS tape
Yeah.
of the trip. And there's a really funny moment when we were in Universal, and I had my little autograph book, like you were saying,
Yeah.
and I was trying to meet Marilyn Monroe, and these like adult men just kept pushing me out the way so they could meet her. It's really funny. And my nan's getting increasingly annoyed, and she's like, she's a child.
Oh
It's
God.
amazing. But then, like you say, then you get a bit older, and like the Universal parks are so exciting because the rides are more thrilling.
Yeah.
So you get that thing, and then when you're an adult, you're like, I want all the experiences.
Yeah, exactly that. And genuinely, like, and I've said this a lot in my podcast, but the way that I appreciate some of the parks has changed as well.
Yes.
Especially parks like Epcot, for example, which when I was younger,
Yes.
I didn't necessarily get it, and I
Yes.
thought,
100%.
dare I say, when I was younger, I probably thought it was boring.
A hundred
Um,
percent. I was exactly the
yeah,
same.
and now I'm like, I love it. I just want to
Yep.
spend my day there doing probably not a lot,
No, it's so true. I
but
was exactly the same because like as a kid, I was just obsessed with rides, and like Epcot, there's not many rides, and I was just like, "What is this?" Like, and I just
yeah,
didn't get it. But
yeah,
now, like you say, you just go there all day. You're just eating, drinking, taking things
yeah.
in, and I'm like, it's amazing.
Just chilling out, and that and
Right.
like we said, as we kind of get older, we just
Yes.
appreciate it slightly differently, which is
Yes.
fantastic.
No, it's so true. And I always say, I kind of feel like as an adult, you appreciate these things more because you get so like bogged down in life and like bills and like what's going on in the news and stuff that you go to Orlando and it's like anything's possible, everything's
Yep.
exciting, and you get to completely switch off. And I feel like as a adult, you kind of appreciate it more because like a normal holiday, you don't kind of get that really. But
No,
there's something
no,
about
100%.
Orlando.
Yeah, I just it's there's something special with it. Genuinely,
Yes.
like the moment you kind of start that holiday, your
Yeah.
your worries are gone.
Yes.
You're just transported. It's magical. That's why the Disney blues hit really hard, though. I
It's
will
the
say.
worst, isn't it? It's the
Yeah,
worst. One of my favorite things that you keep seeing now on like TikTok or Instagram is when people show you the carpet of MCO, and all of us that go know, and we're like, oh my
yeah.
God, I missed that carpet. I
But I
absolutely
love
love
that
it.
carpet.
Yeah, exactly. Like the holiday has started now. I've seen the
Yeah,
carpet.
yeah,
It's
literally. To be fair, if that airport was anywhere else in the world, we'd be so like,
yeah.
whatever. But
Exactly. It's
yeah.
so true. And like I
Oh,
love that immediately you're on a monorail, so you're like first ride of the trip, brilliant.
yeah, yeah.
It's so good. And that's the thing, MCO is busy and like everyone's kind of going to Melbourne now and trying that out, but I'm like, oh, but I'd miss the carpet in the monorail.
Yeah, this is tradition now. This is
Yeah,
we don't want
exactly.
to break traditions.
Exactly that. It's so true.
Yeah.
So what do you think was it that gave you the bug for Orlando?
Oh, I think the main thing for me is I absolutely love films. I'm
Yes,
so into films. So the fact that in Orlando, in the Disney parks and the Universal parks, these
yeah,
films come to life for me is
100%.
so magical. And
Yes.
I genuinely I spend so much of my time watching films and
Yep.
like watching breakdowns of films. Honestly, I'm a film geek, I'll
I
be
love
honest.
that. It's
But so
perfect.
yeah, I just honestly, and it that's the great thing of Orlando, that they're obviously always updating as well. So like with a
100%.
kind of they'll bring new lands out or new rides, and honestly, it genuinely it just that's where it started for me. And I
Yep.
think back to like some of my earliest memories, to be fair, are like Universal with regards to like the Jaws ride. or
Yes.
things like Twister,
I was
or and
obsessed. I was hoping
yeah,
you were going to say Twister. It was so
yeah.
good.
And I watched. It's funny enough. I watched the first Twister last night because I was like, the new one's out. I've got to like go on a nostalgia trip. I've got to do that.
Yeah.
And again, things like Back to the Future. They all of these things give me
Yeah.
such nostalgia that
Yes.
they were such a big thing because my parents were into films as well. They obviously
Yeah.
loved it to be able to take me to the parks. Fortunately, when I
Yes.
was younger, and the Disney films like. I don't even think they need. Don't even think they need explaining. They're so good,
Yes.
and
And that's
like
the thing,
they,
isn't it? They're kind of like like almost like the soundtrack or the
yeah,
filmscape of people's lives. Everyone's grown up seeing them.
yeah, 100%. So that's it for me. Like it stemmed from films,
Yeah.
and I think if I didn't have the love that I do for films, I certainly did then, but also do now even more. Then I wouldn't appreciate it in the same way that I do for
Yes.
Orlando.
Yeah. That's such
Yeah,
a good point. Like it is a gateway into being in a film. And
yeah,
that is, I think, part of the thing that makes it so much fun. And like you say, it's always sad, isn't it, when a ride that you love, like Jaws, disappears, but then
yeah.
something new comes in and you're like, oh, but then this is really cool as well.
Yeah, when it gets replaced by something as kind of in that example of like Jaws when it gets replaced by Harry Potter,
Yes.
unbelievable. I know
Unreal.
there's a couple of examples where it might have not been as good, but
Yes.
like when it does get replaced by something better,
Yeah.
then we're so fortunate that we've got to appreciate those rides as they were, but also how they are now.
Yes, exactly that. And that's the thing, like the Wizarding World blows me away every single time I go because
Yeah,
it is like, because like might sound weird, but when you're watching a film, you're like, oh, this is amazing, but it's kind of like you're a bit detached. You
yeah,
kind of know it's a set. Whereas when you're there, you're like, I'm actually in the Wizarding World. Like I'm a
yeah.
wizard. It's happened.
I'm
Like it's
I'm here. Yeah.
amazing. It's so true. And like it's funny because my last name's Dewing, and you know how names are supposed to kind of relate to what people used to do, like Smith, you were a blacksmith or whatever.
Yeah.
So Dewing means wizard or alchemist, and I'm like, I am
I'm
Harry Potter, I
home.
think.
I
Yeah,
I am
exactly.
this
It's
was my
me.
calling.
Exactly. I need to get a robe immediately.
Yeah.
Like,
You get that whole thing. You pick up the wand and you get the whole Harry Potter when he first gets the
yes.
wand.
Yeah, because that's the thing. That's something I think is really great because I always felt like when I visited Universal, they were incredible theme parks, but they were more like a traditional theme park, like Six Flags or
Yeah,
Thorpe Park or something like
agreed.
that.
Yeah.
And then once they brought the Wizarding World in, I was like, oh, they're now challenging Disney for the level of like immersion. And like you said, the fact
Yeah.
you can go to the wand choosing ceremony and like I know they normally pick a kid, and I'm like, rude. But like
Yeah.
even just seeing someone else have that experience, it's amazing. And I love that they've got all that
Yes.
interaction and it's unreal.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it, and literally kind of goes back to what we were saying. Being able to live the film, I
Yes.
honestly, it gets me every time.
Yeah.
That when you
Yes.
when you kind of like walk through the bricks going into Diagon Alley and you see
Unreal.
Gringotts at the end, it
Yeah.
it will never, I'll never not feel the
Yeah.
excitement of walking in there and just being wowed at the detail of
Yes.
everything in there. Genuinely,
Yeah.
it gets me every time.
It's so true. Do you know what I also love? My friends went, and I thought this was so funny because they had gone to Universal. They were really excited, and they were excited to see the land, but they really wanted to go on Escape from Gringotts. But they got to like the King's Cross part, and they couldn't find the entranceway. So they went up to like a cast member, and they were like, "Oh, how do we get there?" And they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they were like, oh, we need to get there. And they go, oh, I've never heard of this. Like really fully in like, I'm a muggle. I don't know anything about the Wizarding World. But they were like, but no, I genuinely need to get there.
Yeah,
And I
no,
was like, no, did not break character. And I
Gonna
loved that.
do.
It was
Oh,
so
that's
fun.
brilliant. Oh, that's so
It's
good.
so good. And I think that's what's going to be so exciting about Epic Universe because I'm like, when you combine the direction Universal have gone with their level of immersion and the combination of the advancements in technology, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think we're ready. I
No,
don't think it's
no,
going to be next
I
level.
think it's gonna be pretty spectacular. Genuinely do.
It's going to be
I'm
wild.
so excited. So excited
I
for it.
can't wait. It's going to be so good. Well, I'm sure we will come on to that later, but I thought maybe we
Yep.
should dive into some of your favorite things to do in Orlando.
Yeah, of course. So are we talking in the parks or are we talking
Or
around
anything in
Orlando?
general, because maybe we should do in Orlando in general, and then we can dive
Yeah.
into the parks.
Yeah, cool. So I suppose if I were the first thing that comes to my mind of things that I love to do in Orlando, kind of outside the parks,
Yep.
I love doing an airboat tour. I go on
Yes.
about this a lot. I'm a big advocate for it, but
Yep.
genuinely, I think I've probably done it every trip for the past 5 or 6 trips,
Yes.
and it's always for me being able to kind of go out on an airboat with your skipper who's basically
Yeah.
telling you about the wildlife and all of the kind of like plants, trees, and whatever else around you. But being in Orlando,
Yeah.
experiencing kind of like the hot weather, but actually being outside opposed to kind of like just walking from ride to ride in a park,
Yes.
as we experience a lot. It's a special thing for me. I honestly love doing it, and I would recommend it
Yes.
to anyone. That's probably top of my list of
Yes.
things that I love to do.
And that
Um,
feels like a real Florida experience as well. Like if
yeah,
you're going out there, you
exactly.
want to do something that you're not going to be able to do in lots of other places, and that's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, just being unique to Orlando that you
Yes.
realistically you can't do this many places in the world.
Yes.
And I suppose thinking of like kind of other things, a lot of people say this, but I love going to all of the outlets, going to
Love
the
it.
outlets,
Yes.
doing some shopping, and I appreciate it might not be quite the same as what it was maybe 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
but it's still cheaper than the UK. So
100%. It's so true, isn't it? Because that's the thing. Like, I always think of like the glory days when it was like $2 to the pound. But like
yeah.
you say, it was like 15 years ago. You're like, I've got to move on. I've got to move on.
Yeah, it was a while. So I've just,
Exactly.
and you can still get some good bargains. Like, and I quite
100%.
enjoy the hunt for the bargains as
Yes,
much as anything. I'd
it's
like
so true.
if I've set a day apart or I've set an evening apart just to go and mooch around some shops. If I see something and I'm like, you know what, that's a bargain. I'm gonna get it, and I probably don't
Yeah.
need it. That's
Yeah.
that's part
Yeah.
of it, isn't it? I know
It's
we
so
say this a
true.
lot, but Brits coming home with new trainers is
Yeah,
like a staple, I think.
exactly. I feel like I don't know anyone that hasn't. It's just like part of the tradition. If you're going to
Yeah,
Orlando, you're coming back with trainers whether you like it or not.
yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so that would
Exactly.
that would be one of my other things in Orlando. I mean,
Yes.
going to restaurants off
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
I love it. I love. I
Yes.
mean, I love America for a start.
Yeah.
So I love like American foods. I'm a fan of a chain restaurant,
Yes.
and they've got some of the best, and especially stuff that hasn't made its way over to the UK.
Yes.
So for me, I'm a big advocate for like Cheesecake Factory. Love it. Or go
Yes.
even just going to like an Olive Garden. I'm a happy
Exactly.
guy. Yeah,
Exactly.
somewhere like that.
I think there's so many places we always hear about, and then when you can finally go and visit them, it's so exciting.
Yeah, oh, I honestly love it. It makes me so happy, and just like these are the things every time. Every time I go, I'm like, I'm so looking forward to going and having a Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
I'm
It's so
traveling halfway
true.
across the world for one meal to be
Yeah.
absolutely buzzing for it.
But
But
it
yeah,
feels like such a part of the like American experience because we're so used to like seeing American culture in films and TV and stuff, and you've grown up seeing these places, and you're like, now I get to experience it. It's just so fun.
yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suppose just trying to think of like other things in Orlando that I love doing out of the parks. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
I suppose one other thing that kind of comes to mind, and this is a fairly unique kind of
Yeah.
experience, but I love going to a place called Top Golf. Not everyone's
Interesting.
into
Yes.
golf, like I
Yeah.
get it, but like it's basically an interactive driving range.
Amazing.
And at the end of the day, you just kind of go with your family or your friends or whatever, hit some
Yeah.
balls down the driving range if you're into it. If you're not, they've got like sofas, and you basically just sit around having some
Amazing.
drinks, having some food. And
Yes.
for me, it's like it's a nice way to spend an hour, a couple of hours,
It's so
chilled
true.
out, doing something a
Yeah.
bit different. That's the main
That's
thing.
the thing, isn't it? When you're going to the theme parks primarily, I think you need activities like that so you can just relax and enjoy your
Yeah,
trip. So that sounds perfect.
yeah.
It's
And I
so
suppose
nice.
if I could think of one more, I mean, the list could go on here, but
Yeah, it's
if
so
I,
true, isn't it?
yeah, if I could think of one more, I don't know whether you've been there. I'm sure a lot of people have, but I love going to Celebration.
Yes,
Celebration, I
yes.
just being there. I love
Yeah.
it's such a quaint little kind of
It's so
little
true.
town, isn't it? And I love walking
Yes.
around, going around the lake, go
Yeah.
and get a Kilwins, go and get your ice cream in. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
a
Especially
happy
if you
guy.
can visit like Halloween or Christmas when it's decorated as well. And it's just like
Yeah,
it feels so American, and you're like, I'm loving this. And the fact it's free, anyone could go and have a little
Yeah,
walk around. It's lovely.
absolute win. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
it's
that would
so
be
good.
off the top of my head. That's kind of like my
Yes.
favorite things in Orlando. But
Yeah.
like I said, the list could go on it. Like,
It's so true, isn't it? And I think that's the thing as well. A lot of people will hire a car, and then you're lucky that you've also got the option of going to like NASA or to Busch Gardens. Like, there's so many places in Florida that's amazing. And like,
yeah,
you've got so many, like you say, you can go to the Everglades, you can go to amazing beaches. It's got so much on offer. And if you have a
yeah.
car, they're not even that far to go,
No,
which is
they're
so
really
good.
not. Yeah,
Yes. I think it's like an hour and a half each way, and you're on the coast, which is fantastic. We
yeah.
even did a trip once where we went up to Savannah, Georgia, and it was like a 4 hour
Okay.
drive, but it's one straight road.
Yeah, which is just
Amazing.
easy. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like the freedom of that. And the car hire, it did go up a bit after the pandemic, but it's coming back down now. And
yeah,
then the freedom to explore, I think, is amazing.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I will say that I love having a hire car.
Yes.
I personally, I'd struggle to do it without it because I
Yes.
love having the hire car. Well,
Same.
to be fair, I'll give you one more example of things in
Yeah.
Orlando. I love going to Walmart.
Yes. 100%.
I love a Walmart trip. Honestly, it's one of the first things that I do nearly every trip. Kind of like
Yeah.
get to your hotel, get to your resort, whatever, straight to Walmart, go and
Yes.
like have a look around at all the ridiculous sized things. Just kind
Yeah,
of
it's
picking up
amazing,
like
isn't it?
I don't know, ridiculous sized pots of mayonnaise
Yeah,
as big as your head or
yeah,
stupid things like
exactly.
that.
When I
Yeah,
went last time, they had like two full aisles. So like on both sides of the aisle, it was soda, and then they had a second aisle with two sides full of soda. And I was like, I've never seen this much soda. There
just
was so much choice.
and they're massive as like we
Yes,
just have like 2 litre bottles. They got like 4 litre bottles of Coke. I'm like,
it's so true. Last time I went, actually, because I did a solo trip, I had to take a suitcase with me because I was like, when I was like, I'll get water to take to the parks, but like the smallest amount of water was something like 36 bottles. And I was like, right, take a suitcase because I can't carry this.
yeah, very good idea.
It's just mental, but it's
Oh,
amazing. And like you say, there's so much choice and it's great for like bringing snacks and stuff home that we don't get here and amazing.
yeah, yeah. I've got a, I'm looking at 40 different flavors of Oreos, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't know which one to have, and I end up putting 6 of them in the basket, and I'm
it's
like,
so
I really
true.
don't need these, but this is what I'm eating for the next 2 weeks.
But I feel like again, this is such a part of like the Florida experience because most people will go and have these experiences, but it's so fun. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't think going to a supermarket would be fun part of a trip, but it really is.
No, I think Americans must think we're mad,
Yeah,
genuinely.
yeah.
If
They're
someone
not
came
like,
over here, yeah,
yeah,
and was like,
I've got to go
I'm gonna,
to Asda.
yeah,
Yeah,
hour and a half walking around Asda getting excited by biscuits. Like,
it's so true. It's just not the same. I
yeah.
remember last trip I had to go to Publix as well, and I'd never been in a Publix, and I was like, oh, hello, we've
Oh,
got a new supermarket to get
this,
excited about. It
yeah,
was kind of like a Waitrose type, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, let's see the different things. It was
yeah.
amazing.
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, yeah, it's just so good, and I think that's the thing. Like, interestingly, you could go to Orlando and never go to a theme park, and there's still so much to do,
Yeah, yeah,
which blows me away.
100%, 100%.
Yes. And sometimes it's kind of nice to do that, or like add on like a week to the end of your theme park trip where you can have like more relaxing experiences and you're like, okay, I've done all the exciting part and now I can calm down.
Yeah, yeah, and actually have got almost a holiday.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah,
so true, isn't it? Because I think that's the
yeah.
thing. Like when I was saying earlier, I have to do the Florida walks. I'm like, it's not normal to train to go on holiday.
No, it's really not.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all do it. I genuinely like. I think we're all like, right. I'm going to be doing 20,000 steps a day
Yeah,
in Epcot, so I've got to be ready for it.
exactly.
My feet are going to hurt. Like,
Yeah, it's so true. And I think that's the thing. Like, we've all had a terrible experience. Like, so I ended up with plantar fasciitis in my foot, and I got home from a Disneyland Paris trip, and I couldn't walk for a week. I just was
oh
like, this
no.
is ridiculous. And because everyone's had a bad foot experience in like Disney or in the theme parks, they're like, right, I'm gonna have to start training.
Yeah, yeah,
Got to take this seriously this holiday.
yeah. Oh, 100%, 100%.
So true. Well, maybe we should dive into the theme parks, and maybe we should start with what are your favorite things in Universal to do?
Universal. I suppose in terms of actually Universal Studios, that park. the nostalgia for me it hits me hard.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things. I love the aesthetic of Universal Studios. I mean, it's a fabulous looking park,
Yeah.
but it holds a special place for me in terms of the nostalgia. But obviously, the rides are one of the main draws for me. I'm a bit of a thrill seeker.
Yep.
I'm up for big rides. So
Yes.
I appreciate Universal Studios doesn't have a huge amount itself, but there's a couple.
Yeah.
You know, and something like Rip Ride Rocket. I'm quite
Iconic.
happy to go on it. I'm on it. You know,
Yes.
do I think it's the best coaster in the world? Probably not, but I still enjoy going on it.
Love it.
Things again, the nostalgia kind of things. The Mummy, absolutely kind of like that
Yes.
hits me in the feels a bit.
Yes.
That's one of the retro ones for me. But
Yep.
again, like something like Men in Black that's been there for a long time.
I love Men in
Love
Black.
love going to it. Love
Yeah.
it. And like once you kind of suss the scoring out a bit and you
Yep.
can actually start getting like high scores, it suddenly it
Yes.
elevates it and it
A million
becomes
percent.
a so much more enjoyable experience. But yeah,
Yes.
it honestly for Universal Studios, it is the rides for me.
Yep.
I'm not huge on like character meets and stuff. It's not really
Yep.
my thing. But
Yep.
you know, I still love seeing the characters around and stuff. But
Yes.
I would rather spend my time going on a ride.
Yep.
That's what I'm
Yes.
in there to do. And the
100%.
main draw for me in Universal is Harry Potter, as we mentioned earlier. Like
Yeah.
it
Unreal.
being a huge Harry Potter fan growing up, being able to go into Diagon Alley, honestly, I
Yep.
love it. But
Yeah.
also kind of getting on the Hogwarts Express, going over to
It's
going
so
over to
good.
Ireland. Yeah, I love getting on that. When you see it kind of pull into the station, I love it.
Yeah.
I can't remember which station you need to be in for it to be going the right way because one of them it reverses
Yes.
in.
Yeah. It's true, isn't it?
That's not quite as great, but
Yeah.
I love being on it and going over to Islands,
Yep.
which is my favorite park. Genuinely, I
Yes.
love Islands
Yes.
of Adventure, and it's because of the thrill rides.
Yes.
I'm such an advocate for big rides and the addition of Velocicoaster and Hagrid's.
Unreal.
I'm a happy guy. Like
Yes.
I loved Dueling Dragons back in the day.
Yeah.
So when that got obviously was closed and it was going to be replaced, everyone was very dubious. But to be replaced, a bit like we said at the beginning of the episode, where something gets replaced by something arguably better, you're kind
Yes.
of all right with it. You know
It's so
we're
true.
happy. And Hagrid's is a special ride
Yeah.
with obviously the theming of it, but the different aspects of the ride. I won't
Yeah.
spoil them because for anyone who hasn't been on it, but there's some really cool parts of that ride.
Yes. I think
And
that's the thing, isn't
yeah,
it? Like people now kind of talk about which one do you prefer, but I'm like, I think Velocicoaster and Hagrid's are both incredible and they're very different rides. Like you get the thrills and like I've never been on anything as intense as Velocicoaster and it's amazing. And then
yeah,
Hagrid's is so fun and they're both amazing. It's so hard to pick between them.
yeah. Honestly, they're both just so good. And to be in the same park it
Yes.
is madness for me. Like it really is.
Yep.
And like the rest of Islands of Adventure as well. Like there's some really cool stuff in there that
Yep.
I love to see. I'm a big Marvel fan. I don't
Yep.
get me wrong. I wish that Disney had Marvel over in
Yes.
Orlando, but you know it's in Universal, so I'll
Yep.
take it. I'm a huge Doctor Doom fan.
Yes.
Everyone will know by now that I keep going on about Doctor Doom. I love it. It honestly
Yes.
it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
It makes me cry with laughter
It's
every
so
time it shoots
fun.
up. It just I think it looks great. It
Yeah.
looks great. And as a park, Islands of Adventure, it for me as a park in the dark,
Yep.
it's fabulous. It looks
Yes.
fantastic. Something like the Hulk roller coaster in the dark.
Unreal.
It looks stunning. It really does.
Yes.
You kind of walk into the park and it's all lit up green.
Yep.
And being on it in the dark, I know not everyone's a fan of going on it. It's a bit rough nowadays, but I love it. I'm
Yes.
more than happy to go on it. You know,
Yes.
and to be on a Marvel themed ride, I'm there.
Yeah, it's so good. I think that's what's really great actually in Islands of Adventure with especially like Velocicoaster and the Hulk is that you get to see like basically all of the ride, even if you're not on the ride. So it's also visually stunning.
Yeah,
And it's so impressive when you see these huge rides and you can see everyone on them, and particularly like Velocicoaster, where like you're going over the top of people's heads, and like
yeah. Oh,
it's
so
such
cool.
a like showpiece.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolute spectacle. Like, and I think they smashed it out of the park.
Yeah,
Kind of, pardon the pun.
yeah,
But when you kind of walk into the park and see Velocicoaster across the lake,
yeah,
where it is, where it's located, looks stunning. I think people
100%.
were a bit dubious when they said that they were going to put it there. One, I don't think people could quite understand how it was going to fit there.
Yes,
And obviously they built out onto the lake, which I think is really clever.
yes.
But I think people were like, well, it's going to look look a bit messy or look a bit ugly where it is, but it doesn't. It looks stunning in
No.
front of the Discovery Centre.
Yes.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm a big fan of Universal, their parks as a
Yes.
whole. I think that they, in terms of immersiveness, they knock it out the park. They really
Yes.
do.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, especially like you say, the more and more new rides we get, the more and more intense it gets, and like the more and more immersive it is.
yeah.
And you just it gets so exciting because you're like, what are they going to do next?
And
Like,
literally, like, where do you go? I'm like,
yes.
but I'm sure they've got this kind of all planned out, because
Yeah.
there are places in the park, I suppose, with regards to like Lost Continent,
Yeah.
that maybe back in the day it looked stunning back in the day. If you ever like go
Yeah.
back and watch videos of it, that whole area was fantastic.
Yes.
For
Yeah.
25 years ago, that the immersiveness of that area was something different.
So true.
But nowadays, obviously, it's just kind of like they've kind of let it. I don't
Yeah.
want to say like let it kind of like diminish or anything, but there's not really anything in there. There's
Yeah.
not a lot going for it. So if at some point they opted to kind of retheme or
Yeah.
completely redo that land, it's exciting because it's a big area. So
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah,
It's so
so
true.
yeah, so really exciting prospects for islands and studios as well. And I know we touched on Epic, and we might
Yeah.
get into Epic as well, but
Yes.
you know what they're doing in their parks, it only fills me with confidence for what they'll do with the new park.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like you say, the fact that they are always evolving makes them so interesting. And we know like people don't like when there is change, but normally once something's open, people's minds change.
Yeah, yeah,
But like you
exactly.
say, like it's so exciting to think, like you say, like that land, maybe it's not so utilized now, but there's a possibility that they could completely retheme that and then what would
Yeah,
it be? And it would
yeah,
just be
yeah,
so
yeah.
amazing.
So exciting, so
It's
exciting.
so good. Well, maybe we should jump over to Disney now. What are your favorite
Yeah.
things at Disney?
Let's get into Disney.
Yes.
And there's so much. This is it. Like
Yes.
I you know I touched on films at the start. I love films,
Yeah.
and there's so many Disney films and franchises that I'm such a big fan of, because like
Yes.
growing up I've grown up with these films, but even
Yep.
as I get older I have an appreciation for them in a different way, and the way
Yep.
they bring all of that kind of fun and magic. Genuinely,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
the the thing about Disney is it is the magic. It
Yes.
Again, like we said, that you can go there and your worries are gone.
Yeah. It's wild, isn't it?
It is something. It is a special place, and I know we've all had this whole thing where you try and explain it to somebody who hasn't been to Orlando,
Yes.
and understandably, people who haven't been don't necessarily get it. But
Yep.
the moment you do, you're in.
Yeah. It's
and
so true, isn't it?
and that is it's one of the main things about Disney that I love, that
Yep.
they've just made this amazingly magical place that just transports you the moment you step in there. And
Yes.
I think one of the main things for me is the aesthetic of the parks. I think they
Yep.
look stunning. Like
Yeah.
every single park, I can't think of a Disney park where you it doesn't look amazing.
Yeah.
And whether or not that's walking down Main Street or wherever else it is, it's
Yes.
just amazing. And again, I'm a rides guy, so if I
Yeah.
can go and have like rides come to life, something like
Yep.
Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yes. Yep.
I love being able to kind of live that a bit.
Yeah.
Or I'm a big fan of Star Wars, so to go into Galaxy's Edge, and
100%.
a
Mind
bit like
blowing.
the kind of the Harry Potter situation in Universal,
Yes.
being able to go in there and just be in Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. That's why I
That
always say like
yeah,
Rise of the Resistance is an incredible ride because like the ride itself is like 4 minutes, but really the queue is such a big part. It's like you're in Star Wars for
Where
25
where
minutes.
where does the ride start? That's it. Like the
Exactly.
the moment I step in, like the main queue, I'm in
Yep.
the ride, and and
Exactly that.
and I love that, and I love how immersiveness they've created,
Yes.
what they've created with that. I think it honestly is spectacular, and
Yes.
again with Disney, there's a nostalgia definitely with
Yep.
things such as Haunted Mansion or
Yes.
Tower of Terror. Like they've
Yes.
had these rides for years, but they're still fantastic.
Yep.
And the fact that I appreciate that there's other Disney parks around the world, but they might not be the same version of the same ride. So
Yep.
you can only get this version in Orlando.
Exactly that, which is amazing, isn't it? And I always say that's what's nice about the Disney parks is that they feel familiar, but then they're also unique, which is quite a hard thing I imagine to
Yeah.
do. But also it's worthwhile because you think, oh, I've been on like Haunted Mansion in Disneyland or Disneyland Paris, and it's like, oh no, but this is a different experience. So you
Yeah.
have to go and do that as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose in terms of like other things I love about Disney, like I said, growing up, it was meeting characters. And I
Yes,
know I'm
yeah.
not I'm not into it as much now, which
Yep.
is fair enough. I as I've got older, it's not really been my thing. But
Yes, yeah.
when I was younger, I loved it. Like
Yeah.
that honestly was so magical, and I'm sure somewhere I've still got the little autograph book with
Yes.
all of them in there, because that that's
Yeah.
part and parcel of it, the magic of it. And I love that. I love
Yeah.
seeing other people's interactions with these characters as
Yes.
well. I mean, it's
Yeah.
honestly, it's so special.
Yeah,
It really,
it's the
really is.
best, isn't
It's
it? I remember when I was there last time, something I got so excited for because I'd never experienced it before is in front of me there was a service dog waiting to meet Mickey Mouse.
oh, it's
But
so
in front of
so sweet.
them, oh my God, it was amazing because but in front of them there was a family with young kids, and obviously the young kids were so excited to meet Mickey's. They were taking their time, and that's something I think is really nice. They do allow you to do that. They don't kind of rush you out. And
Yeah.
but the poor dog, he was going because he was so excited to meet Mickey, and I was like, please let the dog meet Mickey. And I was like, for me, even if I hadn't have met Mickey, seeing that moment was incredible.
I love that. I love that. Honestly, anything like that is just amazing. I tell
Yeah,
another thing I love, and whether or not it's Universal or Disney, it applies for both.
yeah,
Going with people who haven't experienced something and seeing
yes,
their first experience of it.
yeah,
Honestly, I love it so much.
yeah.
It
It's
it
amazing.
makes it, honestly, it makes my day seeing,
Yeah,
whether or not it's someone going on Tower of Terror for the
yeah,
first time, or
yes,
like, and it's just I've got so many memories of things like that where it's just been like hilarious,
yes,
or just someone being absolutely wowed by walking to Galaxy's Edge, for example. I love
yes,
it. I
yeah,
love it so much. I
yeah.
really
Yeah,
do.
when you get to see their reactions on their face, and you're just like, and I think that's fun because you kind of know what to expect, but they don't. But you kind
Yeah.
of can't wait to then see how they react, and it's so great.
Yeah, and I suppose one final thing on Disney, just
Yeah,
and this is probably fairly obvious, but just being there, like genuinely, and just like soaking the parks up, which
yeah,
is what I said about Epcot. Like that's something when I was younger I wouldn't have done, because
yes,
I
yeah,
was there to go. I want to run around and go on rides, and that's it. But now I can go there and go. You know what? I'm gonna have a relaxed day. I'm gonna go on 3 or 4 rides, but I'm gonna have a chill time walking around World Showcase, get a couple of drinks, get some different snacks, and just sit there,
exactly.
and I might just people watch for an hour or something like
Yep. It's
that.
so nice. And I think that's the thing I always say to people. I think the thing Disney do well is you could go to Disney and not go on one ride, but like you
Yeah,
say, because you've got like great food, you've got entertainment, there's shows, like people watching, there's so much you could do that you could
yeah,
easily not do a ride. And I think that's like amazing because it really does feel like a themed park, if that makes sense,
yeah,
rather than a theme park.
100%. Yeah,
Yes.
I agree, and I love that about Disney, that
Yeah.
it's very much that more people can do more stuff. I know,
Yes. Yeah.
like I love Islands of Adventure, but at the
Yeah.
same time, if you're not into coasters, you're not going to have
Right.
the same experience.
Yes.
You're not
Exactly.
going to get the same out of it. But I think Disney, I think almost everything,
Yeah.
almost everybody would do.
Yes.
I think
It's
that's
true, isn't
probably
it?
fair to say, or at least 75% of stuff I think most people would do.
Yeah.
And I think that's great in terms of being able to ride on these rides with your family and
Yes.
friends more.
Yeah, that's so true. Because,
Yeah,
like you say, if you're visiting with all different ages or heights or like thrill levels, there's stuff that all of you can do together, and then you can kind of split off for other things, and that's
yeah,
really nice.
yeah. It's lovely. It
I think
really
it
is.
kind of gives a nice pace to the day as well, because you could like start off with some thrills, and then like in the afternoon, like chill out a bit, and then like ramp it back up in the evening. Because something I really like you were saying with Universal, is all of the parks in the evening are a really different experience. Like they look different, they feel
Yeah.
different, like the
Oh,
ride
definitely.
experience is different. And I think that's something that's so great.
Yeah, and to be fair, another thing. Sorry, I'm like every time you say something, I think of something else. I'm like
I love
this as
it.
well. This as well.
This is
Like
what's so exciting about speaking to
yeah,
people that get it and get so
yeah.
excited about it.
And another Disney thing is that
Yeah.
they do shows so well.
Yes, yes,
They're brilliant. They really are, and that is a different kind of dynamic for a park. I think is
yeah,
brilliant because
yes,
it's something everybody can do. It's generally something everybody enjoys, but also the level, the quality. I think of something like
yes.
Festival of the Lion King,
Right.
and like
Unreal.
so good,
Yes.
and to be able to kind of have that as almost like a little break in the park,
Yeah.
it is a really it's a clever way of having a park for me as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
That you, like you said, you can do your frills at the start of the day, but then you know what? I'm going to go and spend 45 minutes watching Indiana Jones in Hollywood
Yes,
Studios or whatever
exactly.
else. Yeah,
Yeah. I think, like
yeah,
you say, it's so true, because it could be easy in a theme park to kind of just go, oh, we could just do some sort of basic show, like show some characters or have a few songs. But they're like, oh no, we're going to put on a full show.
yeah,
It's just
yeah, and
wild.
they smash it. They really do.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
will say that Disney have that over Universal, like
Yeah.
big time, big
Yes.
time. You know,
Yeah.
Disney are, are unmatched at the moment
Yes.
with shows,
Yeah.
which is great because they are the absolute pinnacle of
Yeah.
shows. And I'm a big fan of like going to kind of like Broadway shows and stuff in like
Yes.
London. So
Yeah.
if I can go and see like I love the Lion King over here. But
Yeah.
if I can go and see Festival of the Lion King kind of in the Animal Kingdom as well, then you know, I
Incredible.
love that. I love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's the thing. Like, I absolutely love in Universal the like the monster makeup show. I will see that a million times. But it is a shame that some of the rides, like again, we know it went because of Harry Potter, but I used to love the Beetlejuice show.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it.
Yeah. So
And
good.
like, and I remember they used to, and it'd be interesting if they would bring something similar back to Epic Universe. There used to be an amazing Alfred Hitchcock experience, and it
Yeah,
was
this
like
it was a
kind
while
of like a
ago. Yeah.
show, and like, and like you say, they've kind of taken that away a little bit now, but I'm like, maybe they will bring it back with Epic Universe.
I want to say they've definitely announced a couple of shows
Yes, that's
and
going to be
they
fun.
look special. Genuinely,
Yes,
they look good.
yes,
Very excited. Very excited.
yeah, yeah. It's going to be so awesome. So maybe we should move on to what is coming up, because obviously
Yeah.
next year you've got Epic Universe. We've just had D23. So much has been announced
We
for Disney
are
World.
honestly, we are being treated.
Yes, it's so
new
good.
new parks, new lands, new
Yes,
rides, new shows, like you name it, we're
yeah,
getting it. Oh,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
trips to Orlando are going to become unbelievable. It's like they're already incredible, and I'm like, I can't even comprehend how amazing they're going to get even more.
yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think kind of coming off of that, like in terms of the experience in Orlando, I think it's going to change because I
Yes,
think it's
100%.
only growing. It's
Yep,
growing to the point of at the moment you could probably go and do a Disney trip for 2 weeks
yep,
alone, but I would
yes,
argue you probably couldn't do that for Universal.
yep,
Not as much so, and some
yes,
people will happily go to the Universal Resort for 2 weeks, and fair
yep,
play to you. Like I think that'll be wonderful, but I
yeah,
think Disney lends itself more to a longer trip.
yep,
Add that Epic Universe into it. Like, are you going to be able to do all of Disney, all of Universal,
yes,
and like with Epic Universe as well? I think it
yep,
suddenly becomes a very big trip.
a
So it
hundred
might.
percent,
I think we're going to find more people are going to be doing maybe a Disney trip and then a Universal trip as a separate one.
100%. Because I think you're so right. Like, Epic Universe is really going to shake up how people visit. Because, like you say, people either have to choose if they're doing a 2 week trip to do 1 week at Disney, 1 week at Universal now. Because if you used to do like 1, 2, 3 days, you won't be able to do that anymore. You'll definitely have to do
Yeah.
one, or you have to do a 3 week trip, or like you say, do like a Disney trip one time, the next time you do a Universal trip. It's going to be so interesting to see how people decide to start holidaying now, because you
Yeah.
can't do it the same. Like next year, it all changes.
It does, yeah, and it'd be so interesting. But also, I think it'll be interesting to see how it affects crowd levels. Like, I
Yes.
think Disney will be fairly unaffected. I
Yes.
think that by no means do I think that Epic Universe is going to come in and like shake the nest, so to
Yes.
speak, over at Disney. I think Disney's such a juggernaut of a
Yeah.
company, and what they offer is so unique that I don't think it's suddenly you're going to walk in Magic Kingdom and think, oh my god, where is everyone?
Yeah.
I don't think
Yes.
that's going to happen. Like,
Yes.
but I think Universal will certainly pull custom from everywhere, and whether or
A
not that's
hundred
from
percent.
their own parks as well,
Yeah.
I think it'll certainly bring crowd levels at some of the parks down, which can be
Yes.
interesting, and
Yeah. 100%.
it's certainly a win for us as customers going in there.
Yes. Yep.
Um, but it'll be an interesting one.
Yes.
I'm
And
intrigued to see how it goes.
100%. Something I think will be interesting, and something I found surprising is next year's UK offer for Disney World is not that great for everyone. It's good for families, but
Yeah,
like couples or adults, solo travelers, it's not good. And I thought they were going to really do bells and whistles, because, like, you've got Epic Universe opening, staying on site at Universal is significantly cheaper. I
yeah,
would imagine Universal are going to capitalize on that and do like great offers and packages to coincide. And I'm surprised Disney didn't try and have a better offer, because I know a lot of people that are like, I'm gonna switch over to staying at Universal. And like
yeah,
even myself, I was like, I think going forward, I would do a week at Disney and a week at Universal. So I
yeah,
think it's interesting because, like you say, all of that will be changing. And I do think Disney have maybe rested on the laurels a little bit. I think sometimes they can just be like, well, we're so big, we're so popular, and they don't
yeah.
think like, oh, actually people can really take our business away. And I think Epic Universe, like you say, people will have to start deciding where they're going to stay. And
Yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I think Disney have, Disney. I don't mean they've like sat there and gone,
Yeah.
we'll just be arrogant enough to like
Yes. Yeah.
ignore it, because I think they've future-proofed themselves with putting something like Guardians into Epcot.
Right.
That
Yeah.
that if you want Guardians, you've got to go to Epcot. If you
Yep.
want Star Wars, you've got to go to Hollywood Studios. And I think
100%.
they've been clever enough with that
Yes.
that that they've kind of made sure that people are going to keep going to, especially those two parks, if
A
you want to go
hundred
to
percent.
those big franchises. So I
Yes.
think they've been smart like
Right.
years prior, but
Yes.
still, like, if
Yeah.
you're going to Orlando and you want to go and experience all of these new things, you're going to be going to Epic Universe,
Yeah.
and ultimately, if Universal are offering good deals on hotels,
Yes.
you might lean to go in there. You you
A
you
hundred
might you
percent.
might do it. Yeah,
Yes, it's so true. And I think you're so right. I think it's peaks and troughs, isn't it? And people get so excited. So like you said, when Disney were doing like, oh, we're doing Guardians, and there's been other things coming out like Galaxy's Edge, Toy Story Land, people are so excited because they're like, oh, it's all new. And then they forget like what Universal are doing. But at the same time, they're building stuff. And then Universal opens like Velocicoaster, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's amazing.
yeah.
And it's always peaks and troughs. But like you say, for us, it's fantastic because it means there's
We
always new things coming.
I mean, we're the winners. Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
I think of like, I mean, what's coming next year? Obviously, there's Epic Universe, but over
Yeah.
at Disney, you've got like an updated test track.
Yes.
Um, I'm sure there's loads.
Yes.
My
Yeah.
mind's gone blank as to what's
But yeah,
coming,
no,
but there's, yeah,
it's gonna be amazing. And then, like you say, I think next year they're kind of like giving you a little taste. Like I'm really
yeah,
excited for the Pirates of the Caribbean Tavern. I know that's like a
yeah.
far, but
No,
like
I think
that's
that's
gonna be
cool.
amazing. But I
Yeah,
also think it's clever of them because they know it's inevitable. Like you say, a lot of people want to go to Epic Universe. It's brand new. It's gonna be state of the art, unbelievable. So I think that they're, instead of going let's compete, they're like
yeah,
let's stagger it. So the everyone for like 2025 and even maybe 2026 will be all over Universal, and then in 2027 when they're opening like the whole new lands in it's a retheming of a land in Animal Kingdom and stuff, they're like, oh, okay, now
yeah,
we'll sneak in that way. And then you know,
Yeah,
it'll
they're
go
gonna
that way again.
pull it back, and then by the time
Yes.
we get the Disney Villains Land, that's
Oh,
the big move, isn't it? That's the big,
yes.
right,
Yes.
cool, everybody come back. Here we go.
Yes. And I think that's the thing. People have been talking about it for years upon years upon years. And I feel like Disney have probably had it in their mind for years. But I
Definitely, yeah.
definitely think that Epic Universe having Dark Universe pushed them to pull the trigger,
I
because
100%, yeah.
everyone is only just talking about Dark Universe. Like, I cannot wait for it. And the fact that it's kind of like the first horror themed land anywhere is going
Yeah,
to be incredible. And I definitely
yeah.
think that spurred on the decision, like, oh, we need to get going with this.
Yeah, I think definitely that they've taken what everybody's saying as
Yeah.
well. They've definitely
Yes.
listened to the people going to the parks, like,
Yes.
and it's the only sensible thing to do. I appreciate, we can all go, oh, but you need to go and get Marvel,
Yeah.
like, over, but at the same time, if they go, well, that's going to cost us 500 million or whatever it's going to be, like,
Yeah.
then they go, it's not worth it
Yeah.
for what, but maybe it would be, but at the same time, they're like, that isn't the priority, but
Yeah.
we will listen to what people say. And Disney Villains, I think, what a great idea. Like,
Yes.
they've got some of the best villains from any films
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yes.
Honestly, the scope with doing that land is special.
Yes.
It
It's
really is.
so true. That's the only thing. I'm like, I love the Disney villains, and I think they've got so much capacity with it. They could have done a whole park. But
Definitely,
I'm like, I
yeah.
would take a land, and I'm very excited to see. I always talk
Yep.
about this, but like in the pandemic, the Disney Imagineers had an online course. It was for kids, but anyone could use it, so I did. And it was kind of how they build a park. And like you say, the thing that's amazing about Disney is even stuff like the scent that they're going to pump into a land, or like the doorknob, like the level of detail is wild. So you
Yeah.
built your own land basically, and I made my own villains land. And I
Oh,
was
so
like,
cool.
if the Disney one is anything like I've imagined, and Imagineers are like a million times more impressive than my imagination, it's going to be unreal, I think.
Yeah, honestly, it really will.
Yeah,
I appreciate they're probably not going to announce, like,
yeah,
what stuff they're going to put in there for probably a couple of years, I don't
yeah,
expect. But
yeah,
when they do, I think, everyone's going to lose
yes,
their mind, don't they? I think we're,
yes,
we're going to get some really, really cool stuff, and
yeah,
and all the stuff they've announced before then as well, like, like the Indiana Jones ride coming
yeah,
to, and I know it's a sore subject for some people with dinosaur,
yes,
because it is sad, but at the same time, I can only hope and hold out that it's going to be that kind of Dueling Dragons to Hagrid situation, or the
yes,
Jaws to Diagon
exactly.
Alley. That
Yeah,
you know what, Dinosaur was great. It was a great ride for years, but you know what,
yeah,
maybe it has had its time,
yes,
maybe.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and I appreciate that Indiana Jones isn't for everyone, but I think anyone can probably appreciate that it is a big franchise over the
yeah,
years, and I think that something like that
100%.
can go into a park, and it fits Animal Kingdom as
Yes,
well.
it's
So I think
true, isn't it?
aesthetically, so I think
Yes,
I think something like that's really clever, and
yeah,
something like, I think there's going to be the Encanto
yes,
ride as well. Like, what a
yeah.
cool idea!
It's gonna
What
be
a cool idea!
so fun. And like even the concept work just like for the land itself, it looks beautiful. It
Yeah,
looks stunning.
yeah, it really does.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm so excited. I just can't wait. And like you said, it
Yeah,
is always sad, but like you say, like if the park stayed the same, it would be really boring. Like, because I know Disneyland Paris, for a long time it wasn't owned by Disney, and they had a lot of financial troubles. And I remember going, and for more than 10 years there was nothing new. Everything was
yeah,
exactly the same. And it does become a bit like, oh, how many times can I come? Because it's the same experience. So
yeah.
the parks do always need to evolve. And
Hmm.
and the thing, like we were saying earlier, that I think is amazing, especially like when Epic Universe opens, I think the fact that technology has advanced so much and so quickly, the type of rides we're going to have are going to be
Oh yeah.
insane.
Oh, like, honestly, some of that, like, concept stuff looks
Yeah,
so good, and I
it's
know
gonna be
they've
fun.
not announced, like, all of the ride systems and stuff,
Yes.
but there's some really cool looking stuff. I know with regards to kind of going back to Harry Potter. I'm obviously a big Harry Potter
Yes.
fan,
I love
but
it. Yeah, same.
the
Don't.
Ministry of Magic being
Yes.
it, like, the rides, kind of the queue seems to be that you walk through the flames in the Ministry, but like the Flu Network.
Unreal.
I'm gonna
Unreal.
lose it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's so true. And like that ride, like obviously we've only seen like artwork of it, but I'm like, that looks incredible, and I can't even comprehend at the moment what they're doing with it. But it
Yeah,
looks like so much more like technologically advanced than what we've ever seen. I'm like,
yeah.
I can't cope.
And they, to be fair to Universal, like kind of go back to them, they love to kind of do they like be a trendsetter with a ride
Yes.
system, and I'm sure like the same kind of going off Harry Potter, but going to
Yeah.
like the Mario stuff, that Mario
Oh my
Kart,
God, don't.
the Donkey Kong ride.
Yes.
What a cool idea!
It's
What a
so
cool idea
cool.
to make it look like you're coming off the track feels absolutely
Yeah.
wild. But like,
Yeah,
what
I
a
can't
cool
wait for that.
idea! Like,
Exactly. Like you said,
honestly,
the imagination behind that is incredible. And then that's what I always think's amazing about like Imagineers, and I'm sure Universal must have a term, but the fact that these are people that have not only incredible scope and you know imagination, the
yeah.
fact that they have the engineering behind it, so you have this incredible combination, and like it sounds insane to be like, okay, the track's disappeared, brilliant, but we're gonna
Yeah.
hop onto the next bit of track.
No,
It's
it's
gonna
just
be
honestly
incredible.
so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
I remember when Epic got announced, like,
Yep.
what was it, 7, 8 years ago now?
Yes, yeah.
And I remember seeing a concept for that Donkey Kong ride, and it's literally what they've built. And
Yes,
there was a
yeah.
concept years ago. I think it
It's
was like something
crazy.
they'd basically submitted this plan saying
Yeah,
they wanted to do this. And I think people were
yeah,
like, no way. Like,
yeah,
you're
like
never gonna
how?
do it. And 8 years later they've built it. And that's so
It's
cool. I
amazing,
think
isn't it?
the fact that they're thinking of these ideas so far in advance as well,
Yeah,
like, they're on the next thing already. So
that's
whatever,
the thing, isn't it?
whether it's Disney or Universal, that whatever the next things they bring, they're
Yeah.
going to be next level every single time, which
Yes.
is again, we're the winners. We're the
Yeah, it's
winners
so
here.
true, isn't it? It's so true. And I was saying, like, even like the fact that we're gonna have a Universal in the UK, but
Oh
like you say, the
no,
fact
yeah,
that by the time that's built, what is it gonna be like? Because the technology, like the immersion, is gonna be so
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I'm praying that happens, and it looks likely.
Yes.
It does. It
Yes.
looks at this point like it probably is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think there was a point when it got announced that everyone's like, "Yeah, all right, like
Yeah.
good idea, but it's not going to happen
Yes.
in England because nothing
Yeah.
happens in England." Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
exactly.
but I genuinely think, like, I followed it quite closely because I'm
Yeah.
obviously, I love theme
Yes.
parks. I'm like, come on, like, come on, this has got to happen. And I think
I
it's got
know.
enough traction that I think
Yes.
everybody's so behind it that
Yeah.
actually they probably will do it. So
Yes. Yeah,
fingers crossed.
exactly. I think so. And I think it's gonna be like I think immediately it will become possibly the best theme park in Europe. Like
Yeah.
upon
Oh,
opening,
100%. Yeah.
it's gonna be incredible. And I think it's gonna be so interesting because we're seeing in Orlando, it's gonna push Disneyland Paris. It's gonna have to step up its
Yeah.
game. And
Definitely. Yeah.
like the UK parks will have to step up their game, and like you say, we win from that. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Honestly, it's exciting times to be a theme park fan. It really is.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think, like you said, I think there's certainly times in the past, like probably a couple of decades, where maybe stuff hasn't happened as much in
Yeah.
parks, and especially with Disney, there's that maybe they were like kind of resting on their laurels a little bit and
Yeah.
going, you know what, we've got nostalgia. So
Yes. Yeah.
maybe and people, they're hoping that people are going to go there for that. But I think eventually, once we got themed IP lands as much as anything, I think that
Yes.
is the game changer. And I know they're not for
100%.
everyone, but that for me,
Yeah.
it was the game changer for theme parks. It
A
really
hundred
was.
percent. And the idea to me that we could have a Harry Potter land in a UK theme park,
I
I
Yeah,
can't cope. I can't cope. And
yeah,
and I really like that. It also means, say people are visiting from abroad, they might stay in London. They can go out to the Harry Potter studio tour. Then they can get
yeah.
a little train to Bedford. They can do all of the Universal stuff. Like it's perfectly situated, and it's just going to mean people's trips are going to be incredible.
Oh, it really is. Yeah, honestly, we're going to be starting our Orlando trips with a trip over to Universal over here, and then
It's so
flying
true.
over. Yeah,
It's so true. But yeah, I just think it's going to be amazing, and like it's just incomprehensible. And like you say,
yeah,
these things take time, and I think that's the hardest thing because I'm like, gotta be patient now.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. We've got to wait. We've got to wait. Sadly.
exactly. But then we
Yeah,
know, like you say, the fact that Epic Universe is opening, so that's going to be amazing, and that's gonna that's not going to die down that excitement for a few years, I don't think. And I
no,
actually think it's
no.
really interesting the kind of ticket structure that they're doing. So like when it first opens, you can buy however many days you want to do in studios and Islands of Adventure, but only one day at Epic. And I think
Yeah.
what's really great is they're obviously trying to keep the crowd size down, but it's also the thing that you're going to get the bug and then you're going to have to come back because you need more
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, it's clever. It really is.
Yes.
And like I know that, to be fair, I saw it come out a couple of weeks ago when they were saying
Yeah.
about the kind of one day at Epic, and people are a bit mad about it. And I get it. Like,
Yeah.
it's a new park. You want to go there. I want to go there as much as possible. But I
Yes.
get what they're saying, that kind of like potentially the crowd levels are going to be so high if everyone's
Exactly
got
that.
14-day tickets, that
100%.
actually the experience then won't be what they're trying to sell.
Exactly that. And that's the thing, like I remember distinctly when Hagrid's was opened, and
Oh God.
opening day, it was a
Yeah.
13-hour queue. And I'm
Yeah.
like you say, at Epic, if they don't control the amount of people going and limit it, you just, like you say, everyone won't have an enjoyable time. So I think they're doing it best way.
Yeah, 100%. I was in studios the day that Hagrid's opened.
My God.
I
Wow.
didn't go on it, funnily enough.
Yes, yeah, yeah, exactly that.
I planned on going on it, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm happy to wait 3 or 4 hours. And then, like,
Yeah.
I got in the park, and it was queued through Marvel Superhero Island,
Oh my gosh. You
and I
can't
was
even
like,
imagine the
well, I'm not going on that, am
Yeah, exactly. It's so true.
I?
It's
Yeah,
so true. And I think that's the thing that's interesting at the moment is everyone, because obviously we don't have an opening date for Epic yet, but everyone's trying to work out when should they visit, because it's that thing of it's so exciting to be there when something first opens, but then everyone's like, oh, it's going to be so busy. So do I wait a few months? And I love that there's everyone's trying to
yeah.
like work out
The
their trips
strategy,
now.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's so true. And then yeah, I just think it's going to be absolutely incredible. And like you say, I think it's going to be so interesting to see how people start visiting Orlando, because it will have to change, and that's
Yeah.
going to be great to see. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, we just have to do longer trips. What a shame.
Oh dear.
Yeah, exactly that. But
Yeah.
it's amazing, and like I think, like you say, competition can only be good for everyone. And like you say, the fact that Epic is almost ready, Universal have already started planning what's going to be next.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued
Yeah.
whether or not they go for studios or
Yeah.
Islands of Adventure. I personally, I reckon that they'll do an expansion in studios. I
Yes, that would
think
be
where
so
Fear Factor used to
interesting.
be,
Yep.
it's massive. I can't
Yes.
see them not doing it, because I think
Yeah.
it, like I said earlier, in terms of the Epic's going to pull people, like
Yeah.
pull crowds from different parks. I think it's going to pull people from that park more than anywhere, which
Right.
is a bit sad. It's a bit sad because
Yes.
it's not the busiest park anyway.
Yeah.
So I think I think they'll know that, and I think that they won't want studios to feel quiet, because the moment a
Yes.
park feels quiet, I think it then you're kind of thinking like, well, why is it so quiet? There's nothing
Yeah.
here, or like, and obviously we know there is, but I
Yeah.
think personally, I think that will be their move, and
That makes
whatever they
total
do,
sense.
yeah. And but we'll see. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll opt to just retheme something like Springfield. I don't know, because I know that
Yeah.
that at some point is imminent,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yes, exactly. And like you said, there's so many directions they can go in as well. And like, what films are we going to see? Like, it's endless, which is so exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Honest, I could speculate about it for days. I
Yes.
really could. I
Yeah.
know, like, I like looking at the kind of films they own. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe they do a different Fast and Furious ride.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's true,
Yeah,
isn't it? Like, there's so many ways you can go. And I think that's the thing that I love when you talk to other people that get it. Like, we could get so excited and be like, oh my God, they could do this, they could do this. And when you
yeah.
talk to other people, they're like, I literally don't care.
I don't care. I'm like,
No,
yeah, well,
exactly.
I'll just go on whatever. I'm like, no, I
Exactly.
want this. I want.
It's really funny because me and my dad have very different interests, but we found a middle ground because he loves sport and he's a die-hard fan of our local football team. But the amazing thing about our local football team is Michael Eisner, the former CEO of Disney, bought it. So now
Right.
our interests have converged. So we have a lot of conversations about Michael Eisner, which is amazing.
a, a niche conversation. It
Yeah,
really
it's
is.
very weird. But the thing that's annoying is because my dad basically it's Portsmouth Football Club and it used to be fan owned, and my dad helped set up the organisation to make it fan owned, and then they
Yeah.
sold it to Michael Eisner. So whenever Michael Eisner comes, he meets up with my dad, and I'm like, "Excuse me, where's my invitation? This doesn't
Yeah.
seem very
Like,
fair."
when do I come in? Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, "Hello. I think we have to have like a family bonding moment where you have to introduce me to Michael Eisner." But I love that it's the
Oh,
one time
brilliant.
we like, so he'll talk loads and loads about football, and then I'll talk to him loads and loads about Disney, and we both kind of pretend we understand what's going on.
Yep. Yep. Oh, it's brilliant.
It's
Brilliant.
great. But yeah, it's so true, isn't it? Like, you could just talk for hours and hours and hours, because there's so many things to talk about, so many things to do, and I have absolutely loved chatting to you. It's been wonderful, and everyone needs to come and check out your podcast, Orlando Adventures podcast. I'll put all of the links below, because like I say, for me, it's been so wonderful in the build up to my trip, just hearing other people, what they love to do. And like you say, it gives you ideas for your own trips. And
Yeah.
that's incredible. And also it's just the excitement of hearing other people be like, oh, we did this, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to experience that. And like,
Genuinely, thank you so much. Like,
yes,
thank you for having me on, but
oh, it's
for
been
your
wonderful.
support of my own podcast, but like your own one it's you're smashing it, and like
Oh,
I
thank
love
you
your
so
content.
much.
It's brilliant. So like, same with yourself. I'll be sharing it here, there, and everywhere. So
Yes, no, it's been
honestly,
wonderful.
keep doing what you're doing, because you're smashing it out of the water. You really
Yes,
are.
no, it's amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, it's just the best getting to talk to people who get it and like get just as excited,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is the best.
absolutely,
And like,
absolutely.
yeah, and like forming like a little community, it's so lovely. And like I say, everyone's so nice, and you're just like, I love this. And it's
Yeah,
the fact that like, you can get excited when you know someone else has a trip coming up soon, and you're like, right, I'm getting ready for all the incoming like
yeah.
Instagram stories, and like I feel like I'm there. It's wonderful.
Oh, fantastic.
But I just want to thank you again. It's been absolutely wonderful. And like I say, go check everything out. Go subscribe to the podcast. You need to go listen and get all of your Orlando vibes in the build up to your next trip. And thank you once again.
My pleasure. Genuinely, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute blast. I've
It's been so
loved talking
fun.
about F in Orlando, like, Disney, Universal, but also everything in the future, like being able to
Yes.
speculate about stuff as well. So
So
exciting.
fun.
So
Yes,
exciting.
exactly that. Well, thank you all for listening. And until next time, I hope you have a most magical day. Bye bye.